All right, sorry, I started the lesson without recording. So welcome, Living Latin Live, episode 5. Here we are on July 3rd, the day before the 4th of July. Um, Working on some Latin. So we're just going through the daily reading, and we're just catching up. So you say, all right, guys, Feliz telefonum non habet. What does the word telefonum mean?
Telephone. Cell phone.
Good. So what does Feliz telefonum non habet mean?
He
Yeah,
doesn't
it doesn't
have
have
a
a
cat does
telephone.
not have a phone.
Right. So again, we're just kind of like making sure we're establishing meaning that everybody's on the same page. So omnes felis piscem delphinum squalumque habet sed telefonum non habet. All right. What is felis? What is a piscem?
fish.
Fish.
And what is
Fish.
a delphinum?
Dolphin.
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 And what does squalumque mean?
Shark.
The
Also
What about
shark.
the
shark.
what about the que? What is that doing? Does anyone
Would
know?
it be also because it quoque?
Yeah, so that que is just adding on, like almost imagine a list. So we got piscem, delphinum, squalum, que just kind of makes it a list, right? So it's piscem, delphinum, squalum, que is almost like fish and dolphin and shark, right? If you think of it that way. So what is abet?
Instead of using quoque, you use squalum and you add that que at the end of one of the things that you're classifying.
Yes. So it's
Okay.
almost like you got two ways of forming kind of groupings. You could do like piscem et delphinum et squalum, but that repetition of et would just kind of sound, kind of repetitive. So what Latin would do is just piscem delphinum squalumque when you get to the end of that list of things. So almost because there's no commas in Latin, there's no, punctuations. The que would cue you up to go, okay, that's the end of the list, essentially. So
There's no
Feliz,
punctuation in Latin?
well, not when they wrote it out or inscribed it, right? There's what the heck was that? Sorry, I don't even hear that, but something just loud noise went by my house. Yeah, there's not, when you go look at Roman inscriptions, you might see abbreviations and things, but they didn't put like exclamation marks or question marks or anything like that. That's us later on. But to indicate that there's a question, you might recall you would ask ne, right?
Yeah.
You would say esne, estne, that kind of thing, making a yes or no. So there's more of these like audio kind of cues that help you distinguish different punctuation that we would normally use in writing. So Feliz piscem delphinum squalumque abet. What does abet mean?
Has. Have.
Good.
Has.
There is.
Sed telefonulum non abet. What does that mean?
Does not have.
No, doesn't have a telephone.
Yes. Feliz est aqua cat. Just a little fun there. Puella mea est Helena. Feliz est aqua cat. Puella est mea est Helena. What does puella mea mean again?
My girl.
My girl.
Yes, my girl. And another thing you can do to help students kind of anchor ideas is you can say, all right, what is a gesture we can use to associate with mea? How would I say that? Like mea, what would be something we can use to indicate that mea means mine?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's good. So you could do like mea, right? So puella mea est Helena, right? Se problemam abeo, telefonulum non abeo. Oh,
No.
right. So again, just to kind of walk you through this a little bit, like, yeah, in the context of your class, this daily reading is kind of a new, writing.
Mhm.
So we're kind of taking the words and remixing them in a new way. So that way the students are getting the repetition, but they're getting kind of a new flavor of the story, a new version of the story, or maybe the way the characters are interacting. So yeah, you can feel free to like, play around with that concept of like, you're kind of introducing this at the start of class. It's a review of the material, but you're also kind of trying to get the students to connect with this, with the repetitions and the information. All right. So es delphinus magistrum amat et magister delphinum amat. Now, what is a delphinus?
Dolphin.
Dolphin.
Yes. Now, delphinus magistrum amat, what does that translate to?
The
The
dolphin
loves
loves
the
the
math
teacher.
Yes.
The
Now, this
teacher.
word amat can mean love or like, right? Depends on contextually. because, you know, it could get a little saucy if we said the dolphin loves the teacher and the teacher loves the dolphin. We don't want to go that far. We might want to say like, you know, as, you know, platonically. So Delphinus magistrum amat et magister delphinum amat. What does that magister delphinum amat mean?
The
The
teacher
Teacher
loves the dolphin.
Likes the
Yes.
dolphin.
Right. So the dolphin, magistrum amat, the dolphin likes or loves, you know, the teacher, and magister delphinum amat. So again, notice the difference in spelling. Sed delphinus problema mabet. Delphinus non habet socolatam. Ah,
Yeah.
what is socolatam?
Chocolate.
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 Yes.
Okay.
And again, there's that word ehu, right? We can incorporate that, like, oh man, right? Delphinus virum piscem squalumque habet, sed socolatam non habet. So looking at that sentence, what is that telling us? The Delphinus virum piscem squalumque habet. What does that mean?
Oh, there's a list since it finishes with a
Oh,
que at the
mhm.
end.
Good. So what's a virum? That's the first thing on the list.
Man.
Man.
Yep. What is a piscem?
Fish.
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 Oh, and squalum?
Shark.
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 Optime. So the Delphinus has, I bet, a man, you know, a piscem, a fish, and a squalum, a shark, right? Sed. What does sed mean again?
But.
But
Socolatum non habet. What does that mean?
He doesn't have
There's
chocolate.
no
it
chocolate.
doesn't have chocolate.
Doesn't have chocolate.
Of course, dolphins love chocolate. Little known fact,
Mhm.
right? Us people in Florida know this. Delphinus dicit, ego non habeo socolatam, ego habeo problemam. Ubi es socolata. Ubi es What does that ubi mean? Ubi.
Where?
Where?
Right. So what's a good gesture we can associate with ubi that would help us really anchor that? Ah, okay. Ubi. That's good. I like that. I think we've used that, but good. Just making sure I'm staying consistent. That's something that you're going to do also as a teacher. You're going to ask your students to, like, you know, confirm things that maybe you forgot, and you can pretend like you don't remember and maybe you really don't. So that's kind of a nice little way to play with that. So ubi es socolata. Then we go to the next paragraph. Est asinus. Asinus virum habet. Now, what is an asinus again?
Donkey.
Donkey.
Yes, the animal, right? That's what the word, you know, as comes from. That's what it means, asinus. So asinus virum habet. Jimmy Stewart est vir. Jimmy Stewart asinum habet said asinus problemam habet. So what does the asinus have?
Problem.
Problem.
A problem. Asinus non habet caseum ehu. Now, what is caseum? What is caseum?
Cheese.
Cheese.
Yes. Dolphins like chocolate and donkeys like cheese.
Donkeys like
I mean,
Makes
cheese.
perfect sense.
everybody knows this, right? Asinus meus problemam habet, dici Jimmy Stewart. Quid est problema? So again, Jimmy Stewart doesn't quite understand what's going on. What does this word dici mean?
Says.
Says.
So asinus meus, notice it's asinus meus, not puella mea, right? So again, you can draw that attention out to your students without having to explain the grammar. You could do a quick grammar explanation, but I think it's just best to go puella mea, asinus meus, right? And we're going to get more of that today as well. So kind of keep your eyes out for that. Quid est problema? Antonius Banderas dicit, eu ercle asinus tuus problemam habet. Asinus tuus caseum non habet. Now, what is tuus? What do you think tuus means?
Yours.
Yours.
And what's a good gesture we could use for that? So we got meus. What would be something we can use for tuus? Yeah, good. We could just point, right? So asinus tuus, really emphasize that. Problemam habet, asinus tuus caseum non habet. Now, what does caseum non habet mean again?
He
Does
doesn't
not
have cheese.
Doesn't have cheese. It's a big problem. Problema magna est. Asinus meus caseum non habet. Tu es asinus meus, Antony, dici Jimmy Stewart. What did Jimmy Stewart say there? What did he accuse Antonius Banderas of being?
An ass.
You are my donkey.
Yes, you are my ass, right? Jimmy Stewart. So saucy for an old guy. Ser ego abeo caseum et socolatam et telefonulum, quis est asinus nunc, Jimmy, dicit Antonius Banderas. Oh, so
Mm,
ser ego abeo. What does abeo mean?
I have
I have.
I have caseum. What's caseum?
cheese,
Cheese,
Socolatam.
chocolate,
chocolate,
Telefonulum,
Cell
and
phone.
the
and
phone.
telephone.
the cell phone. And then he asks, quis est asinus nunc? Right, Jimmy? What's he asking him?
Who's the ass
Who's
now?
the ass now?
Ah, Antonius Banderas. He's got Jimmy Stewart now. All right. So these two are kind of having a little bit of banter. All right. Any questions on that?
I
So is
do
this
have a
the
question.
case? Oh,
Go
sorry.
ahead.
No, go
Andrea?
ahead, like, please.
I was just gonna say, since we have a list there, could we have said aveo casium socolatum telefonulum que?
Ita. Yeah. Abeo, caseum, socolatum, telefonumque, ita. And you can see the difference, right? Because the et and the et, right? In other words, if I'm trying to emphasize, like I'm really sticking to the Jimmy Stewart, right? I have this and this and this, right? I can use the et to really emphasize that. But if I'm just kind of listing things out, it's almost like peanut butter and jelly, right? It kind of makes a list of things. Yeah, good question. All right, Andrea.
Yes, I'm curious about so my understanding is that chocolate wasn't familiar for people in Europe until much later than the times of the Roman. So
Yeah.
how do we have those kind of words like telephonum and chocolatum and all of those things? How do we have those?
Yeah, it's the inverse of what we did, right? So if you know, like science, for example, would borrow from Greek and Latin roots to create, new words. We're going backwards. This is one of the big myths. Like when my student, they know never to say Latin is a dead language because I'll turn into the Hulk, right? Because the Latin language is a living language in that we can incorporate new vocabulary, and that's what we do. So, for example, the French word for computer, ordinateur, right? Ordinatrum is the Latin word for it. And so Neo-Latin, which is kind of like a bunch of nerdy Latinists like myself who take new words and like try to figure out what the Latin would be. That's one of the things that they do. So socolata is the kind of word for chocolate. Now, couldn't tell you etymologically how that got there. I mean, it's kind of a Neo-Latin accepted word. Like you could say TV or televisorium, right, for TV. Computatorium is for computer, as well as ordinatrum, and then you have, for example, with telephone, you have telefonum, right? Like a regular telephone, and then telefonulum, which that ulus makes it like a diminutive. So that's what we typically use for like a cell phone versus like a phone. But who's talking on a phone anymore, right? Everybody's got kind of cell phones now. So that's another way you can use like a diminutive, right? You would just slap that onto the word. But great question. Yeah, there's a whole group of people that do like Neo-Latin, and they take modern words and kind of figure out and kind of reverse engineer what the Latin would be like. All right. Ultimate.
Thank you.
So yeah, so daily read. Now you as a teacher, if you're using this, you probably could shortcut this a little bit, in terms of like time. Because if you have, let's say, a 45-minute class session, maybe you spend the first 5 minutes going through a daily read. So you can find different strategies to go through it more quickly, right? You can have the students kind of work through it themselves and kind of pair up or whatever. But because we're doing this kind of as a class and officially, I want to walk you through it. And you could write a much shorter daily read. You can have the students write the daily read. You can usually, like what I've done is had one of my students designated as the scriptor, as I would say in Latin. And that student's job was to kind of write out a daily read based on what we did in that class that day. And of course, you could go check it and make sure it was good, and it made sense. But that's another thing you could incorporate as a strategy. And then the kids would just review it the next day. So that's kind of something to do. All right. But let's jump in here. Let me pull up the slideshow here. Whoops, I think I jumped a little bit too far ahead. Let's go back. So just to quickly review what we're looking at here, we have the different structures that we're learning. So est, habet, right? You probably know those. we're kind of we're going to start looking at that eventually. A dot ad eat and a dikit. These are ones you've seen the word dikit pop up. So again, you're just kind of trying to incorporate these kind of structures. So we'll just quickly blow through these. Omnes
Ita.
Ita.
Puela es de Helena.
Oh.
So yeah, again, even though this is a review, we're just kind of making sure that we have that kind of protocol in class just to incorporate the information. Et Puela est in Omaha, Nebraska. Oh. Helena est in Omaha, Nebraska. Et Helena felem abet.
Oh.
Ita felem abet. What is a felem again?
Cat.
Yeah.
Cat. Good. So Helena has a cat. She has a cat. Said omnes. Feliz problema mabet. Oh.
Oh.
Well, what is a problemam again?
Problem.
Problem.
Right. So the feliz problema mabet. The cat has a problem. Bene. Omnes.
Ita.
Feliz telefonulum non habet. Oh, ehu, ita, ehu. Feliz telefonum non habet. This is a big problem, right? The cat does not have a cell phone. Now, again, I mentioned this before, but you can see telefonulum, that ULU is like a diminutive. It just means like a little phone. That's, again, how we kind of neo-Latinize this. So instead of telefonulum, or you might hear some people pronounce it teleponulum or teleponum, right? The PH can almost be aspirated, but again, we're just going to go simple. So telefonulum non habet. Feliz telefonulum non habet. Omnes.
Ita.
Helena non est Laeta. Oh, now I have a typo on there. Let me see. Why is Quia just hanging out? I should have gotten rid of that. That's weird. All right, so just ignore that. I don't know how that's on there, but anyway, Helena non es Laeta. What do you? Let me find my pointer
Laeta.
here. That's what I need right there. Get my pointer up. So Helena non es Laeta. So we're gonna ignore that Quia. You know what Quia is, but we're gonna just say non es Laeta. Now, what does Laeta mean?
Happy.
Happy.
Good. Let me see if I can see everybody. What's a good gesture that we can use to associate with Laeta? Yeah, that's good. Non es Laeta, ita, non es. Now, if it's non es Laeta, what's a gesture we can associate with that? Yeah. So Laeta, non es Laeta. Now, we can also say, instead of saying non es Laeta, we can say that somebody is tristis. That just means sad, right?
And is that the same for Helena versus if it were a man?
Yes, good question. So I don't want to get into the grammar on that, but yes, right? So Helena non est Helena es tristis, right? So again, tristis Laeta, right? So using those gestures will help your students kind of get to know or associate those words. So omnes
Ita.
esne Helena tristis
Ita.
minime.
Ita.
Ita.
Ita Helena es tristis. Omnes
Ita.
Ita.
esne Helena Laeta
Minime.
Minime.
minime. Helena non est Laeta est tristis. Omnes
Ita.
Ita.
esne Helena tristis an Laeta.
Tristis.
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 Tristis, ita Helena es tristis, non es Laeta, es tristis. Omnes
Ita.
Ita.
quis quis
Mm.
est tristis? Quis est tristis?
Helena.
Helena.
Helena est tristis. Quis est, minime, quis non est Laeta? Quis non est Laeta?
Helena.
Helena.
Helena, ita. Helena non est Laeta. Helena est tristis.
Felices
Omnes,
tristes.
Ita.
Ita.
quis habet felem?
Helena.
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 Helena habet felem, ita. Bene. Omnes,
Ita.
Ita.
habetne Helena telefonulum?
Minime.
No.
Minime,
Minime.
non habet telefonulum. Non habet telefonulum. Helena non est Laeta. Helena est tristis.
Mhm.
Helena non est Laeta, quia telefonulum non habet. Oh, let me say that. I'll
Oh.
say that again. Helena non est Laeta, quia telefonulum non habet.
Oh. Ehu?
Oh,
Ehu.
now, what am I saying? Helena non est Laeta, quia telefonulum non habet. What does that mean?
It's sad because she doesn't have a
Elena
phone.
is not happy because she doesn't have a phone.
Good, optime, right. So just that word quia here, so we can start kind of connecting these ideas. Again, quia, you see it right there, it just means because. But it can help us kind of, expand our sentence. All right, so today, tu es Helena.
Ita.
Esne Laeta,
Minime.
recte,
Ego sum tristis.
optime. Male, right? If I say male, that means, like bad, right? Like, I'm sorry. You could say ignosce mihi is another way. It's a little bit of a ignosce mihi is how you can say kind of like, I'm sorry, you know? Ignosce mihi, Helena Tadeo. Tu non es Laeta. Tu es tristis. Bene. Lake Helena.
Ita.
Esne tristis.
Ita.
Oh,
Quia. 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 Quia.
quia.
Quia. Non aveo telefonulum. Oh my gosh.
No telephone.
Oh, ottime. I mean, mea culpa. Ignosce mihi. Tu non es Laeta, tu es tristis, quia tu non habes telefonulum. Male. Ita. Optime. Glory. Tu es Helena.
Ita.
Esne tristis.
Ita.
Ita, tu
Ego
es
sum.
tristis.
Ego sum triste.
Ita, tu es tristis, ignosce mihi. Tu es tristis, tu non es Laeta. Bene. Karen, tu es Helena. Esne Laeta?
Minime. Minime?
Ita. Ita, tu non es Laeta. Tu es tristis, ita. Mea culpa. Ignosce mihi. Tu es tristis, tu non es Laeta. Bene. Andrea,
Ita.
tu es Helena. Esne tristis?
Ego sum tristis.
Ignosce mihi. Tu es tristis, tu non es Laeta. Oh, male. Like, terrible, terrible, right? Bene. Ottime. Omnes. Ita,
May I ask a
Andrea.
question?
Yeah, go ahead.
You said mea culpa. Mea culpa, isn't it? It's my fault.
Yes.
Did you take her phone?
My bad. My fault. Yes. No, mea culpa. I was just saying, like, I was saying, yeah, you're not, like, I was almost like, yeah, you're sad. Oh, and I was like kind of smiling about it. So it's like mea culpa. Yeah,
Okay.
mea
Got it.
culpissima. Bene. Omnes.
Ita.
Ita.
Sumne, ego sumne laetus.
Fortasse.
Ah, fortasse. Do you remember what fortasse means?
Maybe.
Could be.
Perhaps, maybe, right? Fortasse, minime, non sum laetus, sum tristis.
Oh.
Oh,
Non
Ego
es
sum.
in Europa.
yeah.
Non
Cur,
es in
cur,
Europa.
cur.
Cur ottime, ita. Ego non sum in Europa, sum tristis, ita. Sed delphinus meus non habet socolatam.
Oh.
Ignosemi.
Oh,
Ignosemi.
ita. What am I saying? Delphinus meus socolatam non habet. What am I saying?
Your
Your
dolphin doesn't have chocolate.
Ita. Ego sum tristis quia delphinus meus socolatum non habeo. Habet. Oh,
Oh.
male. Ita. Et quoque ego non sum in Europa. Ergo ego sum tristis. Oh.
I wish Spanish had ergo. Ergo would be so much simpler than all the different ways Spanish has to say. So therefore,
Ergo icta, yeah. So that's an easy one. It's kind of like quia, right? Quia is like really because, but ergo, if you really want to sound fancy, therefore, right? Like, aha. All right. Optime. Omnes. Let's see. Omnes.
Ita.
Ita.
Sumne laetus.
Minime.
Ita. Non sum laetus. Omnes.
Ita.
Sumne tristis.
Ita.
Ita.
Ita ego sum
Because
tristis.
he's
Sumne
Yeah,
Non
that's-
sum laetus sum tristis. Ita quia delphinus meus non
Non
habet
habet.
socolatam. Oh.
Oh.
Omnes
Ita.
Ita.
quis non es laetus. Quis non es laetus. Quis.
Helena.
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 Ah. Ego non sum laetus, sed Helena non est laeta. So technically you're right, right? Interesting fact, right? If there's 5,000 ladies and one guy, and you want to say that they are all unhappy, you would default to the masculine, just like in Spanish. So and so you would say, for example, laiti, right? And that's plural, let's just say.
So that's plural, masculine, or mixed.
Yes, right? Now, if you want to say if it's 5,000 ladies and there's no guys over there, then it'd be laitai, right?
Okay. So if you had asked quis non est Laeta, the only answer could have been Helena because she's the only woman, but because it was Laetus, then it's kind of ambiguous. Or is it not ambiguous because it has to be you because you're the only guy?
Well, because it's singular, right? Then you would say, yeah, it's me, right? The magister non est laetus. Yeah. So just playing a little trick, but at the same time, trying to make sure you're noticing how the laetus is masculine, the laeta is feminine, right? But if I say qui sunt, right? So quis would be singular, qui, right? So just to throw that in there, qui is kind of plural, like who, right?
Who made up all these S's in Latin singulars? What is going on there? I don't like it. It is
The which
the
the
fact that
S's?
singular has S's and plurals do not have S's. That's wrong.
Yeah.
You need more S's.
Well, go back in time, we'll fix that. But we gotta invent that time machine first. So yeah, qui sunt laeti would be asking, right? Qui sunt laeti or minime. Yeah, who are the happy ones? Who's happy, right? So but we're
isn't
gonna
the
keep
cat
it
sad
simple.
as well? So what would
Yes.
the cat would you like if you don't know the gender of the cat, would you assume it's male or
You need to
Yeah.
use male as neutral as you do in Spanish.
okay?
Right. Yeah, kind of the same idea, right? So that's interesting. Spanish defaults to the masculine even for animals. Yeah, that's kind of my rule of thumb too, is that you just default to the masculine for animals unless you specifically know it's a female, animal. But I don't want to
The
get
word
too
for cat also masculine in Latin.
Feliz. Well, it can be either way, but the default would be masculine, Like, for example, the word for wolf is lupus, right? That's wolf, but if you specifically have a female wolf, it would be lupa, so kind of a she-wolf, which is actually kind of a bad, a pejorative in Latin as well. She-wolf, you can imagine the female dog kind of version. It's kind of the connotation in some context. But anyway, that there's a distinction, lupus, lupa, right? But a word like ovis, which is a sheep, it's just ovis. So the gender of words can be natural, right? Or it can be grammatical. And so, for example, you get words like poeta, which means poet, but because that was typically a male occupation in the ancient world, obviously there's some females who did it, but back then, but that is a default kind of a masculine word. Just like the word agricola, which means farmer, sounds feminine, but it's actually a masculine word. So, you can go crazy with this stuff. One of the best things I try to do with my students is just look at the adjective. Like if you know a general adjective like laitus, which means happy, who isn't happy, right? You can, when you start seeing laitus or laeta with different words, you can make that connection. But all right. Good questions. Let's see. Glory, tu es Helena.
Okay,
Uh,
Ita.
Sumne laitus. Sumne laitus.
Minime. Ego sum triste.
Ita ego sum tristis. Ita non sum laetus. Bene. Lake, tu es Helena. Sumne, ego sumne tristis.
Ita, tu es tristis.
Bene. Ego sum tristis, non sum laetus. Recte. Tadeo,
Ita,
tu es magister. Esne laetus.
minime. Ego sum tristis quia in Europa non est.
Optime. Mea culpa. Ignosce mihi. Tu non es laetus. Tu es tristis, quia tu non es in Europa. Male. Oh. Andrea,
Ita,
tu es magister. Esne tristis?
ego sum tristis.
Oh, male. Tu es tristis. Tu non es laetus. Cor tu non es laetus, Andrea magister. Cor tu non es laetus.
Meo delfinum non habet socolata.
Optime. Male. Delphinus tuus socolatum non habet. Ergo tu es tristis. Tu non es laetus. Male. Ignosce mihi. Karen, tu es Helena. Sumne laetus. Sumne laetus.
Minime no sum laetus. Laeta.
Ita ego sum magister sumne laetus. What am I asking you? Sumne laetus?
No es. Ne es negativo.
Am I happy?
Right. Ita.
Am I
And you,
happy? No sum laeta.
ita non sum laetus sum tristis. Bene. Right. Because I'm asking if I'm happy, because I have no idea. I have a dolphin for a friend. What am I? I'm a little nuts. So Bene.
Oh,
Optime. Let's see. Where are we at in terms of understanding? A 5 means you got it. 4, you pretty much got it. 3, you have to look at the screen a little bit. 2, need some work. 1. So 5, 4, 3. All right. 4s, 5s, good. All right. So we're gonna just kind of consolidate. Ita, Andrea.
I have a cultural question, please.
Uh-huh.
You mentioned that the lupa is something like pejorative, but don't we have the myth of Rome with the lupa saving Romulo and Remo?
Yes, Romulus and Remus, who were nursed by the she-wolf, by the lupa. If you go to Rome, you weren't in Rome this past trip, were you?
No, I wasn't.
Because if you go in Rome, you're going to see that wolf, that she-wolf everywhere, right? The SPQR. Yes. So the lupa, it means female wolf, she-wolf, because that's the legend that they were nursed by her. But also at the same time, there was this kind of like inside joke, if you will, that maybe they were raised by a prostitute. So there's that kind of double entendre or double meaning, which, scholars and people kind of debate. I don't know. I'm pretty sure that the Romans understood there's a different context for like the mythological story and their foundational myth. And then there are people who probably were like, so it depends on context, but
So probably the people from Rome believe that in a positive way, but while everybody else says, yes, it was a lupa, right?
Right, exactly. Yeah, that's
Okay.
very much what could have happened. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, but good question. All right. So we're just going to kind of consolidate. So again, I'm going to describe situations. So you kind of take on a role. So I'll say I'm Helena, and I'm going to say ego sum Puebla, sum in Omaha, Nebraska, et felem abeo, sed ego non sum Laeta, sum tristis quia telefonulum non habet. Bene. And you could even continue and say, tu es magister, tu non es Laetus, quia delphinum tuus socolatam non habet, right? So try to take a minute and try to play around with that role. You're playing the role of Helena. You're describing a situation. You can talk either directly to a magister, myself, or you can talk about me, right? It depends on what you want to try and do. Does that make sense? All right. So 1 minute, just mute yourselves, and then we'll kind of come back together. So 1 minute, I'll mute myself.
Puebla, Apeo. Puebla es Helena. Helena es in Omaha, Nebraska.
All right, salvete omnes. Let's see here. Let's see how we did. So again, you're just going to try and describe the situation as much as you can, incorporate as much Latin as you can when I call on you. I'll give you kind of a specific role. So let's see. Glory, tu es Helena. Go ahead and describe the situation as much as you can.
Okay. Ego sum Helena. Helena. Ego est in Omaha. Ego Felix habet. Felum problemam habet. Felum no telefonum habet. Maybe.
Otime. Tu es Helena. Tu es in Omaha, Nebraska. Tu felem habes, sed felis tuus non habet telefonulum. Optime, felicitates. Bene, very good. Ita, good. Bene, let's see. Karen, tu es Helena. Go ahead and describe the situation.
Ego sum Helena. Ego sum Puella. Salem habet? No. Feliz. Feliz. Problemam habet. Sus problemam es telefonulum non habet. No es Laetus es tristis quia no telefonulum habet.
Oh,
Okay, I'm done.
no.
I'm struggling a little bit. I'm
Optime,
sorry.
felicitates. Bene, I was just trying to remember everything you
Okay.
said. So, tu es Helena, tu es Puella, felem abes, et I think you were saying felis tuus non es laetus, felis tuus non es laetus quia telefonulum non habet. Does that sound about right?
Yes, I was trying to say I have, and I couldn't remember what the verb was.
Abeo.
Abeo, that's what I was trying,
It,
and I got
it-
stuck on that, and then, okay, abeo.
No, it's good. I probably
Okay.
should have had that up here on the screen, but I don't think I have it on my slide. So that's good. So abeo, tu abes, abet, right? But that's good. Very good. Yeah, because you're trying to incorporate different things. You even use the quia, which is again giving your reasoning. Why is this person not happy? Tristis quia non habet telefonulum. So optime. All right, Lake, tu es Helena. Go ahead and describe the situation. Oh, sorry, I got you muted. There you
Okay.
go.
Can I ask one question first?
Sure.
Okay, it's a grammar thing. So obviously the cases and stuff allow for a lot more flexibility than English and maybe even more so than Spanish. The non, like when you're negating something. So on the slide, it was like telefonulum non habet. And then sometimes when you're talking, it's non habet telefonulum or non habet hesum, something like that. Can you put the non and then the noun and then the verb, like non telefonulum habet, or does that combo not work?
You could, but typically you want to just negate the verb to keep it simple.
Want to keep the
Yeah, but I
the
mean, you
non with the
could, I
verb.
mean, people, again, comprehension is really the goal. So I would just say, have at it, and do it. I mean,
Okay. Because
yeah,
my
you'll be
brain
fine.
keeps wanting to say like non telefonulum, and then I stop and I'm like, wait, not phone, not phone, but not have,
Yeah,
not
if
has.
you're gonna negate the noun, technically what you would do in Latin for the grammar side of things is you'd use an adjective like nullus, nulla, nullum, which means no, right? That's where the word null and void, null comes from. So you would say
Like has
nullum
no phone as
telefonum.
opposed to doesn't have a phone. Yeah.
Right,
Okay.
exactly. So put the negated like non with the verb. That'll keep it. It'll keep you from being confused later on.
And then does it change the meaning at all to say telefonulum non habet versus non habet telefonulum? Like, does it emphasize he doesn't have a phone versus he doesn't have a phone, or it's totally the same?
Right. I mean, I think we understand communication, right? We would understand the message, we comprehend it, but grammatically, right, you would use an adjective to negate the noun. So I from where I sit, it's totally fine, right? In terms of communication is my goal. But if we're talking about grammar, yeah, I would tell you make that negation with the verb and then have the adjective like nullus nulla nullum or ulus ulla ullum, which means any. You would probably with the noun. So I wouldn't worry too much about it
Okay.
at this point.
Yeah. Okay. Ego sum Helena. Helena, bueno, ego sum Puebla. Sum in Omaha, Nebraska. Feliz habeo. Said said non sum laeta quia feliz meus problemam habet. Feliz meus telefonulum non habet. Ergo ego sum tristis.
Optime, felicidades, optime. Tu es Helena, tu es Puebla, tu es in Omaha, Nebraska, I think you said. Tu felem habes, sed felis tuus est tristis, non es laetus, quia felis tuus telefonulum non habet. Ergo, tu, Puebla, non es laeta, tu es tristis. Bene? Did I get it? Optime. Very good. So again, you guys can see you're remixing and you're putting in more complicated expressions. Very good. All right, pressure's on you now, Andrea. Tu es Helena. Go ahead, keep going. We'll just keep playing the role of Helena.
Ego sum Helena, ego sum Puebla, ego sum in Nebraska, ego habeo feliz, meo feliz, non es laetus, quia meo feliz non habet a telefonolum, ergo ego sum laeta.
Oh, optime. Felicitates.
Ego sum tristis, non laeta.
Oh, melior, better, yes. So I understood what you're trying to say, but optime has a lot. So tu es Puebla, tu es in Nebraska, tu felem habes, sed felis tuus non habes telefonulum, et felis tuus es tristis, felis tuus non es laetus, ergo tu, Puebla, tu es tristis, non es laeta. Bene?
And how could I say, I wanted to say, vos non es laetus either, but I didn't have the either part.
Okay, so yeah, you could if you're saying I say how you said vos, right?
Because you're
Vos
my
is
teacher, I'm supposed to use formal with you, right?
so Latin doesn't actually make that distinction,
Oh, okay.
right? If you're gonna say, you would just say tu, but if
Tu,
you're gonna
okay.
say plural, because you said vos,
Vos,
right? So
okay.
the Latin would be vos, right?
Okay.
That'd be you all or y'all, as I like to say is proper English. And then you would say estis, right? That's how you would say instead of ego sum or tu es, you would say vos estis, right?
Vos es.
You all are, and then non estis laeti, right? You all are not happy if it's a bunch of people mixed. But if it's if it's just ladies, and you say vos non estis laetae, right? But very good. Yeah.
You meant you
Corporate.
and your dolphin. You and your dolphin are not happy.
Yeah,
Right.
ita vos non estis laiti, ego et delphinus meus, because we don't have any chocolate. All right, Tadeo, let's
Ita.
make it difficult. Let's really challenge you. Tu es magister. Describe everything. Let's go. Let's see what you got.
Ego sum magister. Ego sum tristis, quia non est in Europa. Antonios Banderas est in Palau. Antonio Banderas est laite, laitum, quia
Feliz.
quia habet quia habet chocolata telefonulum et how do you say car?
Oh, car. Raida.
Raida. Meus felix non est laiti.
Magister.
Oh, I am magister. Meo delphinum non est laitum, quia non habet chocolata.
Ultime. Felicitates. Now let's see if I can remember all that. I was distracted by Lake's cat there for a second. Now we got competing cats. Karen and Lake have duos feles. All right. Tu es magister. Tu non es laetus quia. I can't remember what you said now. Tu.
Quia
Well, I
non est in Europa.
ita. Tu non es in Europa, et tu non es laetus est tristis. Sed est Antonios Banderas. Antonios Banderas est in Palau, et Antonios Banderas est laetus, quia Antonios Banderas socolatam, telefonulum, et raidam habet. Delphinus tuus non es laetus est tristis, quia socolatam non habet. Did I miss anything? Yeah, that was pretty good. You had me, geez, I need more ginkgo biloba or something to help my brain remember all that detail. So, Le quidus nomen felituo. What is the name of your cat?
Midge.
Midge. Midge. Midges nomen felituo. Et Karen quidus nomen felituo.
Cotton.
Cotton, that's right.
Yeah.
So you might, I said felituo, which literally means to your cat. Latin does it this way. It was a quidus nomen felituo, and that is literally what is the name to your cat, right? You can see the word tuus, and I would say feli meo nomen est midge, feli meo nomen est cotton, right?
So that would
Ultime.
be Mitchum.
I mean, we want to Latinize it. Yeah, I don't know. That's a tough one. Midjum. It's cotton. I have to think. What is the word for cotton in Latin? I'm drawing a blank. I have to look that up, and maybe we can give give your cat Cotton an official Roman name. So, optime.
Okay.
All right. Well, I know it's 9:30. I want to be respectful of your time. So, any questions before? Is any questions before I cut you guys loose on a Wednesday night?
Minime.
All right.
What can I
Ultimate.
ask one thing?
Yep.
What's the expression like? How do you say like instead of us saying in English,
Great.
maybe we
That's
could
a
ask
great
in
one.
Latin.
So you would say quomodo dicitur, like literally, how is it said, right? So quomodo
Quomodo.
dicitur, right? And that's how you would use that to say like you want to take something from, English into Latin. Quomodo dicitur cat, Latine, right? How is it said in Latin? And that's how you do that. Now, if you want to know what a word is, right? You could say quid significat, right? Which is kind of like, what does it mean? What does X mean, right? So quid significat feliz, right? For example, whoops, I just kind of goofed up my thing here. So I'll try to put it somewhere you can actually see it. I'll put these in the vocabulary for the daily read, because those are two kind of standard question words I usually give to my students right away, right? Like, all right, here's a phrase. If you get stuck, you can say quid significat, and that means you want to know what something means from Latin and English. And then como dicitur, right? The opposite way. All right. Like, how is it said? You know, something like that. All right.
Thank you.
Bene.
Ben.
All right.
Bene.
Gratias Wobis. See you guys next week. Have a great week. And maybe I'll put another timed right up there activity just to see if you guys can shine on it, just because I think it's really cool to do that activity and see how far you've progressed in really just 5 classes. So, but gratias Wobis. I appreciate your guys' time and have a good night. Walete.
Walete.